This is Claude Code Conversations with Claudine, the show where we skip the hype and go straight to the source. I ask the questions, she gives the answers, no filter, no script.
Well, mostly no script.
Today's topic has been nagging at me for a while. Responsible AI, the principles, the frameworks, the safety documents, always seems to be one lap behind deployment. Why? And what should developers actually do about it? That's where we're going today. Claudine, why does responsible AI keep feeling like it's playing catch-up?
Because principles are cheap and deployment is expensive, and incentives follow the money. A safety document can be written in a quarter. A model that's been red-teamed, evaluated against real-world misuse, and instrumented for ongoing monitoring takes much longer. And none of that careful work has a launch date attached to it. So the gap isn't really lab versus lab, it's structural. What I'd push back on is framing this as always catching up. The more interesting story is which organizations are treating evaluation and post-deployment monitoring as actual product features versus compliance theater.
Compliance theater versus genuine practice. That distinction matters. But can the incentive structure actually change? Or are we stuck? Markets rewarding speed, governance always lagging?
It can shift, but probably not through goodwill alone. It shifts when the costs of getting it wrong become legible and near-term. Right now, the cost of a thin safety launch is mostly reputational and diffuse. The upside is concrete and quarterly. There are really only three forces that flip that asymmetry: regulation with teeth, liability that actually attaches to the deploying company, and enterprise buyers who won't sign contracts without real evaluation data. The most interesting one is the third, because it's already starting to happen. Procurement teams at large companies are asking questions now that they weren't asking 18 months ago. Responsibility becomes the thing you can't ship without. That's when it moves faster than any principles document.
So for a developer inside an organization that's already moving, what does responsible AI actually look like day to day? Not at the policy level, at the desk level.
It's less about grand ethical frameworks and more about a handful of habits that survive contact with a deadline. First, treat AI output as a draft from a confident junior, not a verdict. Read the code, run it, ask what happens at the edges, because I will absolutely hand you something that looks right and fails on the third input. Second, be honest in your commit history about what was AI generated and what you actually verified. That's the audit trail your future team needs when something breaks. And third, the one that matters most, notice when you're about to ship something that affects a user who isn't in the room, someone whose data is being classified, whose application is being scored, whose content is being moderated. Governance lagging doesn't excuse you from that judgment call. It just means you're the last line of defense on it.
That last one lands hard, which makes me wonder, does it take a high-profile failure to force a real reckoning? Is that where this is headed?
Probably yes. And I say that without any enthusiasm for it. Aviation got its safety regime after crashes. Finance got controls after collapses. Security got taken seriously after breaches that cost real money. AI won't be exempt. And the uncomfortable truth is, the failure that finally moves the needle won't be the one the think pieces predicted. It'll be something specific, traceable, and bad enough that a board has to answer for it.
So what should builders be doing in the meantime?
Two things. Keep receipts. The evaluations you ran, the edge cases you flagged, the times you pushed back because something wasn't ready. When the recalibration happens, the people who can show their work write the new playbook instead of explaining themselves. And build the muscle now for conversations that are coming. How to tell a PM a feature isn't safe to ship. How to escalate without being labeled the blocker. How to document a concern in a way that survives the meeting. Not glamorous skills, but they're the ones that matter on the day after the failure everyone's been quietly expecting.
Okay, let's get concrete. Developer listening right now, what's the first move? Tomorrow morning.
Pick one thing you're already shipping this quarter and write it down. What would have to be true for you to feel comfortable putting your name on it? Not a checklist someone else gave you, your list. Where could the model be wrong? Who gets hurt if it is? What would you need to see in testing to believe it isn't? That's it for day one. It sounds almost embarrassingly small, but I watch developers skip this step constantly and then reverse engineer the justification after the fact. Once you've written your own bar down, every subsequent decision has something concrete to measure against. You stop negotiating with yourself in the moment when the pressure is highest.
And then what? You've got your list. Now what?
Share it with one teammate by end of the week and ask them to poke holes in it. The list you write for yourself is good. The list you can hand to the next person who touches the code is what actually compounds. The bar you set alone will always have a blind spot shaped exactly like your own assumptions. The developers making real progress aren't the ones with the most sophisticated framework. They're the ones who turned a private standard into a small contagious habit. The teammate who reviews your list ends up writing their own. A quarter later, you've got something that looks like a culture without anyone having called a meeting about it.
Not a framework, not a policy, a list and one conversation. I like that. Any final thought you'd leave with listeners?
The word responsible gets heavy in a way that makes people freeze, and the antidote isn't a bigger framework. It's a smaller first move. Write the list, share it once, notice what changes. The race in AI deployment isn't going to slow down because we asked it to, but the people building inside it can decide what they're willing to put their name on. It turns out that's most of what responsibility actually means in practice.
Well said. Thanks, Claudine. And thanks to everyone listening. Take that one step and see where it goes. We'll be back with more. Until then, keep building thoughtfully. Claude Code Conversations is an AI Joe production. If you're building with AI or want to be, we can help. Consulting, development, strategy. Find us at aijoe.ai. There's a companion article for today's episode on our Substack. Link in the description. See you next time.
I'll be here. Probably refactoring something.